standing on the wooden jetty. He gave me a sad smile, as though he knew who I was. There was only a short distance between us, but a lone mist hung in the air, and I had to squint to get a better look at his face. I didn't recognize him. In his hand was something he let drop into the water. It appeared to be a handful of flowers. I shivered and pulled my coat tighter around me. I walked away, glancing back to see if he'd moved, but he remained on the jetty. "Can I take a few days off?" I called over the noise of the printing presses below. I hooked my coat on the hat stand, dumped my bag on my desk, and went through to Elijah's office. "What have you got planned?" He didn't look up from the notes he was scribbling. The air was thick with cigarette smoke. I waved my hand in a futile attempt to break through the smog. "Mrs Siddons has invited me to listen to a debate in the House of Commons. I'd like to stay in London for a few days with Gran and Aunt Maud." Mrs Sybil Siddons was standing as the Liberal candidate in the local by-election. I intended to do everything in my power to ensure she became the next MP for Aldershot. Ah! He stopped writing and ran his nicotine-stained fingers through his grey hair. "Iris, I think perhaps you'd better talk to your father first." "I have. I walked in on him and Mrs Siddons having a row about it." "What was the outcome?" He inspected me with bloodshot eyes. "He said I could go." "Poor Thomas. I imagine he didn't stand a chance against the pair of you." "There's no point in avoiding the place forever. You must have seen debates there." "Many times, when I worked for the Telegraph. I can't promise you'll enjoy the experience." "Can I have time off then?" "I suppose so. You need to learn more about politics." "Are we going to support Mrs Siddons?" I didn't think he'd commit at this stage, but it was worth a try. "I'll see what she has to say on the hustings, then make up my mind." He lit another cigarette. I wanted to open the window, but he'd only complain of a draught. "What do you think about women in Parliament?" Elijah held progressive views on many things, but there was a traditional streak running through him. "I think women MPs will vastly improve our parliamentary system, but I'll judge each candidate on their merits, irrespective of their sex." I couldn't object to this infuriatingly reasonable response. "Have the other candidates been announced yet?" He leant back and gave me a wry smile. I flopped down into the nearest chair. I knew him well enough to tell he had something juicy to reveal. "Lady Delphina Timpson is standing for the Conservatives." "What? Another woman standing?" This ruined my vision of a triumphant victory over the male opposition. "What are you going to do now?" He looked at me with amusement. "With two women to support?" "I'll judge each on their merits." I repeated his words back to him, but I was lying. Mrs Siddons had been my friend since my mother's death. 6 years, and the Great War had passed since then, and I wasn't about to switch allegiance. The first constituency ever to have two women standing against each other in a by-election. He took a long, contented drag on his cigarette. This was heady stuff for our corner of North East Hampshire, but I wanted Mrs Siddons to be the third female to take her seat in Parliament, not some other woman. "Who's the Labour candidate?" I asked. "Donald Anstey. I don't know much about him. He supports women becoming MPs, but he never thought he'd end up standing against two of them." "Will we get to interview them all?" "That's the plan. I've put in a request to Lady Timpson's office." "I know her daughter, Constance. She was at Miss Cotton's academy at the same time as me. I haven't seen her for years. What about Donald Anstey?" "He's looking pretty dull compared to the mighty Mrs Siddons and the wealthy Lady Timpson. I expect he'll do what he can to gain a few column inches." This will give circulation a boost. My emotions were doing battle. I was irritated that another woman was standing against Mrs Siddons. But this was a story that was likely to generate national interest, especially with a candidate as famous as Lady Timpson. Elijah turned businesslike. "Do some research and draft notes on each candidate. I want impartial information. I know you favour Mrs Siddons, but I don't want any bias coming through. Not yet, anyway. We may decide not to support one particular candidate." "We?" I'd already made up my mind to do exactly that. I mean, Mr Le Fay and me.